Hey everybody, welcome to another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the Dawnbringers, Book 2, Reign of the Brute. This is a destruction sort of like focused update as we get these Dawnbringer campaign books for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. It's interesting. This is basically adding a bunch of new sort of sub-factions to various armies and allowing them to play in sort of like new and creative ways with sort of certain collections of models. So for instance, we have the new Trog King here. He's kind of the primary focus. I love that he's got like a big chunk of like Slan Temple Gate on his back there, it looks like, and his own sort of like bespoke starter set, which we'll take a look at as well. And it also pushes the realms forward a little bit and sort of incorporates the new Cities of Sigmar stuff in a big way into like the I guess where the narrative is headed, because they're the current focus, being the most newly released army at this time. You can see here they feature prominently in the interior artwork as well. So what do we have? We have the Twin-Tailed Crusade, which is basically the description of where those cities are sort of like breaking open their doors and going to take the realms back. The stuff that's also happening with the Fire Slayers, they're getting some new models as well. The Rise of the Troggoth and the big Troggoth King who gets woken up and made mad. And then the rest of it is basically like telling that story and where that's going. We have Armies of Renown, which is the rules here. We have some battle plans for the Axian and Guerrilla Crusades, which are sort of the two halves of one of the major Cities of Sigmar cities. There's a gate, a realm gate that lies on both sides. And so Hammerhall is very sort of like key in the storyline. And then another bunch of story battle plans that happen afterwards as well. And then the army rules themselves and some pitch battle profiles. So get excited. This is all the new hotness basically as far as new models and new sort of like ways of playing various armies. We've also got the Orruk Ardboys getting a resculpt. There's a huge amount of new Orc stuff in here, although interestingly enough, it doesn't feature quite as closely in the interior art here, but we do get some Gitz, and of course they're big Trog friends. Trug, trug, trug. So as usual, lovely interior artwork, lovely color shots of all of the terrain and featured models. You can see lots of Trogs in here. There are some Gitz in the background on some spiders, some Ragnaroks too. And then all the new Cities of Sigmar models getting shown off as well. The Axian Venture on the one side, and then the Guerrilla Crusade on the other side of Hammerhall. And the Hogs of War, let slip the Hogs of War. That made, the first time I saw it, made me laugh, because it's dumb, but it's also great. It's dad jokes in Age of Sigmar, which I think is fantastic. And their fight against the Hallowed Knights. And then some bits and pieces for the Sylvaneth as well, but not a huge amount of storyline on them. So what's cool is these new Ardboys, it's creating basically a cavalry army for the Orruks, which I think is cool, much like the Trog army for the Gitz is sort of being supported here. And then there's a big stomp as well for it's destruction focused, like I said. All of where it's going. I'm just kind of having a flip through here. I love this paint scheme. The Garen in half of the Twin-Tailed Crusade. It's such a great picture. Marshal in Sala Thorian. What a great miniature right there. Female Marshal model, and then all of these like wonderful knights and the new steelheads. I will say the look of the Cities of Sigmar stuff is incredible. And then all the new stuff for, well, for the Trog, it's simple. It's just Trog really. And then his army list. You get the Tusk Boss on a Magrunta, which is he's got like side boys, which I think is really cool. It's very like Immortan Joe. You know, it has a real sort of like Mad Max Fury Road look to it if they had giant pigs instead of cars, which is lovely. And then we get the Weird Brutes, who are basically like Berserker versions of the Brutes, which I think is kind of neat, but they're half armored. And they have like flails and stuff. And then here are the new ones. We have the Grunstock Expeditionary Force, we have King Broad's Stomp, a Grunta Stampede, and Trug's Trog Herd as the 4 new armies in this book. They each get their own grand strategies, battle tactics, core battalions, and war scrolls. And then here is the rules for the Crusade, which is fun. So you can play Crusade, what people are trying to do, their setbacks and blessings. So this is what I honestly, these types of campaign books usually herald the winding down of an edition, right? And we've seen over the last year, 2 years, all of the 3rd edition armies basically get released for Age of Sigmar. So we're in a state right now where There's not really a lot of book stuff left to do. The Sea Sigmar are the big one, and they got like a full army redo. So we're kind of in like late stage 3rd edition AOS now. When that starts to happen, these campaign books come out, they do make these kinds of like little sort of sub-armies and sub-factions, relaunch interest in certain factions. But I'm glad that this is in here too, where we have these like ways to play and things to play for that aren't just more matched play stuff. This is what I missed out of the General's Handbook. The General's Handbook used to have a ton of sort of narrative play stuff in it, and it got split off into just kind of being the way you did matched play for Age of Sigmar. And I when that happened, you can watch my old review of it if you want. I loved the quality of the book, but my most disappointing thing was I was like, I want there to be some place for this. And it's finding a home in these campaign books. So the plus side of that is that it exists, and we get these cool quests and stories, and we do get little bits of that in each one of the battle tomes. But the downside, I guess, is we have to wait late to the edition to see this stuff kind of become like the key feature of Age of Sigmar again, because they're not adding tons of new armies because the armies have all kind of come out. And they don't tend to redo armies anymore. They just launch a new edition whenever they want to redo all the army books. But I do like that it's in here because, again, I love these types of narrative events, and I think Age of Sigmar needs more of that because they need to explore that. They need to have as much history as 40k does at some point. So telling these stories is important, and it's a little bit like the new Star Wars stuff on Disney+. Like, you have old Star Wars fans from the 70s, 80s, and 90s who have their original trilogy, but it's hard sometimes to understand that for people watching Star Wars today, the newer movies, like the 7, 8, 9, are my kids' Star Wars. So they're super interested in what's going on in that story. And even like the Disney Plus TV shows are kind of being made for people that grew up with the prequels, which again aren't my Star Wars necessarily, but I appreciate the fact that some people look at those and feel like they are their storyline. Age of Sigmar needs that. They need a history, they need a developing history. And so for somebody playing Age of Sigmar today, starting it in 3rd edition, this is going to be their cool, memorable moment in the history and the lore. So I like that it's still being featured and been put in here. And of course, we've got our stuff for the one sort of Order Armory featured, which is the, I want to say Leagues of Votann. The Float Dwarfs. For their names of completely, the Caradhran Overlords. It's just like blanked for a second. I was going to say Leagues of Votann, which is funny. And so yeah, so we get through the end here, and we have the story basically told, and like there's a battle for a big city, and the Stampede arrives and runs over all the Hallowed Knights. All right, we're to armies. All right, everyone can be finished screaming at the screen about the actual like army stuff. So Trog's Trog Herd, basically, when you pick a Gloomspite Git army, and all the models have the Troggoth keyword. So that means the things that are accessible to you are all kinds of Trogs. So basically Fellwater and the Stone Trolls, basically Stone Trolls and River Trolls. You can have the Dankhold Trog Boss and the Dankhold Troggoth. You can have Trug, and you can have Molog, and that's it. You can have allies on top of that. But every army has to have the Troggoth keyword. You get the Bad Moon rule. So what they do is they replace the Bad Moon rule in the Gloomspite Bits army with this one. So it has the same thing where it starts in the large quarter, and then it goes center, and then it goes diagonally opposite, and then it goes off the battlefield. Basically, you pick a large quarter to have it start on, and then it will move. If more than one player is playing it, then you roll off, and the winner basically picks which side it goes on. So two Trog armies fighting each other, it's going to be back. If someone's going to start with it, someone's going to end with it. And then during the battle, you're going to roll, and then on a 4+ it moves to the next location. On 1 to 3, it doesn't move and stays where it is. When the Bad Moon moves off the battlefield, then the effects go away. So when you're under the light of the Bad Moon, if it's in that quadrant, basically, so it's either the starting quarter, then the center, then the diagonal quarter. And what's funny is you need to actually kind of have a GW folding table to really easily keep track of this, because you need to be able to see it. Once you're in those locations, and it's funny because the center of the battlefield doesn't hit the whole table anymore like it did for the Gitz in the old days. You have Moonlit Hide. Add one to your save rolls if you're targeted by an attack while you're inside the light of the Bad Moon, or of Haywire Magic. At the start of your hero phase, if you use a friendly Trug's Malfunctioning Laystone ability, which is one of his character abilities we'll get to in a minute, the effect applies to all other friendly Trug's Trogherd units until start of next hero phase. So basically it's like a magical defense. And then the King's Wreckers, friendly Trug's Trogherd models or units do not have the hero keyword, gain the battle line battlefield roll at all times. So cool, you have always battle line everything for being a Trog. So as long as it's not the Dankhold, Molog, or Trug, everything's battle line, which just means the the dank holds themselves, the monster ones, or the non-character ones, sorry. And then the 2 units of like the stone trolls and river trolls, which I'm gonna never call anything else because my brain doesn't accept it. All right, command traits. So these are traits of the Trugs Trogs, which is so fun to say. Trugs Trog are general only. You have Ceaseless Growth, and he is a War Master, by the way, so you can still have a dank hold. It would be kind of dumb otherwise if you didn't, but he is a War Master so that you can have someone be the general, plus him be the War Master, and have 2 armies that can get command, or he can get whatever he gets normally because he's a character model. And then you could also have a dank hold get one of these traits. So when you think dank hold, when you think of these things, because that's who's going to be doing them. You have Ceaseless Growth. When you roll the dice that determines the number of wounds you can heal with a friendly Trugs Trog herd unit's regeneration, add 1 of the number of wounds you can heal. And there's no range for that. It's just... yeah, it's just Trugs Trog herd unit. Because everybody gets that keyword. Yep, so just everybody, if that's your command trait, then you just get it. And including unique units. Oh, sorry, traits of Trugs Trogs. Trugs Trog are general only, including unique units. I didn't notice that unique units could gain these. You have Prize Troglet. Roll a dice each time an enemy model within 12 of the general issues a command. On a 5+, that command's not received. It still counts as having been used, and the command point that was spent is to issue that command is lost. And remember, Trug can still be used as a character in a Gitz army. He just doesn't get any of these access to these things because it's not a Trog herd army all of a sudden. And then Living Landmark. During deployment, instead of setting up this general in the battlefield, you can place them to one side and say that they're set up an ambush or reserve unit. So basically the idea is that little monument on his back is just like planted in the ground, and then he stands up and everyone's like, oh God, because they think that was like a piece of terrain. At the end of your first movement phase, you can set them up on the battlefield within 3 of a terrain feature and more than 9 from all their enemy units. So basically you can teleport to a piece of terrain. Then your grand strategy, Vague Inclinations. This is my favorite. There's only one. It just says, leave me alone. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy with friendly Trugs on the battlefield. There's no enemy heroes in the battlefield because he just wants to be left alone. He just wants to sleep. He's just tired. It's so funny. And then Artifacts of Power. You can have Dankhold Detritus for your heroes. A Thwack Weezer Club. It's covered in mushrooms. Subtract 1 from hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks that target the bear if they have been picked to fight in the same phase. So if you get to go first, then after you've gone, because you've swung your club and there's spores in the air, you're -1 to hit and wound, which is great because it rewards you for going first. Then you got Crunchy Shinies. Your move is D6 + 5 because you're basically covered in like crystal meth and it just jacks you up. And then Loonstone Teeth. The bear gains the monster keyword. If the bear already has a monster keyword, you can carry out 2 different monster rampages instead of 1. So if you weren't a monster, like you were just a Dankhold Trog boss, because I don't think they have the monster keyword, then you get to do rampages. And if you were a monster already, because you're Trug, then you get to do 2. And sorry, this one, oh, maybe not. Actually, now that I think about it, I should pull up my AOS app, which will conveniently have all these stats on it. Because the Trog boss, I don't want to speak out of turn, which I am prone to doing. Reference, we want Destruction, we want Gloomspite Gitz, and we want War Scrolls. Is it Dankhold Trog boss a monster already? He might be. He's not. Okay, yeah, I was right. Yeah, the Trog boss is not a monster. This one doesn't have the including unique units one, though, so I don't know how you would get a monster to be one. Is Molag a monster? Well, he's a unique unit, though, so you wouldn't be able to give it to him anyway. And he's not a monster either. Interesting. Because it's a Trugs Trog herd hero only. But it doesn't say unique units. So I don't know. I guess you would just never get the 2. You would just get 1. Battle Tactics, Momentary Distractions. Don't look like that one. Pick one enemy hero. Or sorry, don't like that one. You complete this battle tactic if that hero was destroyed by Trug. So if he kills it. Feels funny. You complete this tactic if a friendly Trugs Trog herd unit is destroyed. An enemy unit during this turn while they're affected by the Aura of Haywire Magic battle trait. So basically if you jacks them up with this Haywire Magic. And then what's that glowy thing? Pick an objective you do not control. You complete this battle tactic if you control the objective at the end of the turn. And 2 or more friendly Trugs Trog herd units that are affected by the Light of the Bad Moon are contesting this objective. And then here's Trug. So like I said, he's a War Master. He's Malfunctioning Laystone, which is the big laystone on his back. The Odd Contraption, oh, maybe it's Sylvan. No, it has all the things of magic on it. It just reminds me of the stuff from the whatchamacallits, the Seraphon. It really does look like a Seraphon thing. But maybe not, maybe because it's just a laystone. The Odd Contraption on Trug's back is as much a mystery to him as it is to his enemies, yet through it he can unwittingly channel fearsome, powerful magic. At the start of your hero phase, if this unit's on the battlefield, you can say that it will clobber its malfunctioning laystone, because it just hits it to make it work. If you do so, roll a number of dice equal to the malfunctioning Laystone's value shown on this unit's profile. So it starts off as 4 dice. You must pick one of the results to apply and apply its effect. So you don't have a choice, but you roll 4 dice and get to pick from those 4. Results of 2 to 4 last until the next clobber of the malfunctioning Laystone. And results of 1 do nothing. Oh no, 1 is just you take D3 mortal wounds. That's right, yeah. The Glyph of Shyish, if you accidentally hit that one, you get D3 mortal wounds. If you hit Gur, add one of the attack characteristics of its unit's melee weapons. If you roll 4 2s at the beginning, all your melee weapons, like your club, will have 8 attacks. The Glyph of Akshi, improve your run by 1. The Glyph of Hish, roll a dice each time this unit receives a command. On a 2+, get a command point, so you get a refund. Glyph of Ulgu, only unmodified hit rolls of 6 for attacks made with missile weapons can target you. And then the Glyph of Kamon, which you're trying to get as the 6+ ward. So now you have 16 wounds of 4+ save, bravery 8, and a 6-inch move. You can still do crushing grip, just like a dank hold, which means pick an enemy unit within 1 and roll a die. If it's greater than their wounds, they're dead. You just pop them. Regeneration, Trogs are able to regrow their stuff. So at the start of your hero phase, heal D3 wounds, and then imbued with life. And you roll the number dice to determine how many wounds you heal. Add 3 to the wounds you can heal. So he, yeah, pretty cool. Because maybe it's supposed to be Sylvaneth. It does have a lot of stuff growing out of it. I don't know, it has all the other realms on it though, so I don't really know. I can't remember from reading his background. And that's Iron Shell Club, so it's range 3 inches, so he has a huge melee range. He gets 4 attacks to begin with, and it goes down to 1 as he gets wounded, because he has bracket. 3s and 3s, -2, D6 damage. I do like that he's swingy, but he's relatively affordable. I think he's 360 points, if I remember correctly. He is 320 points, even cheaper than I thought he was. So with 320 points as his cost, then you're looking at a fairly, I think, good thing that the damage is swingy. Because if he had consistent flat 4 damage, he'd be way too good being able to jack up attacks. Then his Mighty Antlers get 2 attacks. They hit normally on 2s, but go down to 5s as he gets wounded. But he's going to heal so fast too. You're going to stay around your, it's going to be very hard healing 4 wounds per hero phase that you have to stay at 13. You know what I mean? You're almost always going to float between probably the 10 bracket and the 7 and 9 bracket once you get late in the game. Wounds on 2s, -2, D3 +3 damage. So his Antlers are actually the ones that you want to jack up with the Glyph of Gur. Because 6 attacks with that are going to be amazing. 6 attacks, 2s and 2s, -2, D3 +3 damage. That's a lot of damage. So yeah, the Glyph of Gur is the one you're fishing for, really. And oh, sorry, you're not going to get to 6. It's pick 1. I thought it said roll a 1 for a second. Never mind. Discount everything I said about adding +4 to your stat because you're never going to get +4 to your stat. You want to roll the 2 though to get the extra attack, I think, or the 5+ ward because you're rolling 4 dice to do it. You don't apply all of them. I'm so sorry. You apply one of them. You pick one of the results you rolled and apply its effects. I always read that as you the 2 to 6 are the ones you can only apply until the next clobber basically, but the 1 is because it was mortal wounds. I misunderstood. Anyway. You can add an attack. So yeah, getting 3 2+2 +2 D3 +3 damage attacks. That's going to be 3d3 +9 wounds usually on the average unit. He will crush a unit. So anyway, I like him. I think it's good that he's swingy. I think that he's got a cool point value. I love that he's covered, because he's a living piece of terrain, he's covered in cave paintings. They've carved cave paintings into him, which I think is very funny. I think his army's cool. It's very one-dimensional. Now, Games Workshop was nice enough to send along the Dawnbringers box for this. And that means that I basically got 6 stone trolls and a trug. I had a dank old trog box, but I just sold it actually when I was clearing out the studio. But this will be a really fun project. It'd be quick to paint. I could easily play a 1,000-point game with it. I'm trying to think of what other models I have that would go with it. I might have a Molog somewhere. No, I gave that to Owen. I don't have a Molog because Molog would be cool. But I think the stone trolls are what, 160? I'm pretty sure in Stoneforge. I just looked at it. They are 170. Yeah, for all the trolls. I quickly made a list actually the other day. I need to buy a Loon Shrine to play with it. The Trog boss wouldn't really work, so I'd delete him, and then maybe, because it would be too much, and then add 1 more unit of trolls. So 2 more boxes of trolls and a Trog boss and the Loon Shrine, and I'd have 1,000 points. Sorry, and I should just say how much that is. It's 340 plus 320 is 660 points in that box. So 660 points, it just means I think that's actually very smart. They've basically designed this Wait, that can't be right. Because I put a dank hold in there. Oh, is a dank hold also? Oh, it was a dank hold in one box of Trog bots. Because I wanted to have a dank... oh no, because I've deleted Molog. That's why. I'm an idiot. It's 660. If you added... Yeah, if you added 2 units of trolls, it's exactly 1,000 points. So the idea would be that if you just bought 2 units of trolls, you'd have a 1,000-point army with Trug. So 2 units of Felwaters. You could do a dank hold, but there's really nothing cheap enough otherwise to make it 1,000 points to like get you started. But once you're at that point, you're basically pushing up towards 2,000 anyway. But it's a neat box. I'm excited about that too. All right, so that's the first of the armies that are in here. Let's look at the Grunta Stampede. So this is the Orc one, which I also think is very cool. Because it's basically all Maw Gruntas or Gore Gruntas. So you have to, basically your whole army has to have those 2 keywords. It's not like the gimmick army of everyone has to have the Trog keyword. So you get the following battle traits. You get and you gain the Grunta Stampede keyword, sorry. So you get the following traits. You get the Grunta Wah. Once your battle at the start of your charge phase, you can pick a friendly Maw Grunta general in the battlefield and have them call the Wah. And if you do that until the end of the phase, you get a 3+ within 1 D3 model wounds. It's not per model, it's per unit though, so it's just an impact hit thing. Hogs of War, all Gore Gruntas gain the battle line. Battlefield roll, the Maw Gruntas do not, which is the non-hero version of the hero one. And then here we come. During the first battle round, do not subtract 1 from the momentum score of friendly Maw Grunta units for each of the turn. So basically you have a momentum score. You gain momentum every time they move, run, or whatever. It goes down by 1 each hero phase to make sure that you can't just sit on it forever, right? And it's only a 5-turn game. So you're -5 to the total. But you have things that increase the higher your momentum score is. So you want to always be moving, basically. It means getting locked in combat is not great. You want to kill as fast as you can. Then you got 2 new monstrous rampages. You got Greedy Gobbler, but they can only be done by Maw Gruntas, which is the big pigs. You can only carry out this monster rampage with a unit that has a momentum score of 3 or less, so you have to be doing it when you're not moving fast. Pick 1 enemy model within 3 and roll a die. If the roll is at least double that model's wound characteristic, it's slain. So you can do eat a Stormcast on a 4+, or eat a regular guy on a 2+. Then you have Charge Down. You can only carry this monstrous rampage with a model that made a charge move this turn and is not a unit that has multiple models. That model can make a D6 move, but must finish that move within 3 inches of any enemy units, but must finish that move within 3 of any enemy units. Then add 1 to the momentum score. So basically, that you can move, but you have to stay in melee. So you're basically like able to move around during your end of the charge phase. That's when all the monster rampages happen. So just give you some mobility. It also means you could do things like gobble people up that you want to have. Command traits. All right, so Tusk Boss Journals only. This is the non-character model version, or the non-unique model. You get Monster Hunter. Improve the run characteristic of this model's pig hacker by 1 if they target a monster, so it just makes it a little fightier against monsters. Artifacts of Power. Stuff from the Sty for your Tusk Boss. The Boom Skull. The bearer can issue commands to any friendly unit in the battlefield. In addition, each time the bearer issues a command, you can pick an enemy unit within 3 and roll a die on a 3+ to take a mortal wound. So basically you have unlimited range for the commands your general gives out, which is good because you're going to have a kind of an MSU army with this one because you're using multi-wound expensive cavalry models. It's a little bit like the Orcs now have a version of the all-mounted Ogre Kingdoms army. If they didn't... the monsters aren't quite as good, but they're similarly sort of like fighty. Then you get your mount traits. You can pick up to 3 friendly Maw Grunta units to have 1 different mount trait on the table. So there's only 3 of them, so basically you're handing out these 3. You get Propa Ard. When the unit is targeted by an attack with a weapon that has a rend of -1, change it to dash. Propa Nasty. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks with their melee weapons. If any wounds or mortal wounds are allocated to them. And then Propa Wild. At the end of the charge phase, before any monster rampages are carried out, if this unit's more than 3 from enemy units, but within 12, roll a die on a 3+ attempt to charge. So the enemy charge phase, you're charging. Proper Wild is amazing. Proper Nasty is cool just because it's like a buff that you're probably going to get because they're going to attack you anyway. And Proper Ard's cool as well because Rens have generally gone down across the game. Then your one and only grand strategy is where's we going? Headed to herd. This is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if your general had a momentum score of 6 at any point during the battle and is still alive. And then who's next is your battle tactics. Out of control. You complete this tactic if you carry out a Greedy Gobble, charge down, and 2 other monsters rampages this turn. So you have to, I don't love that one because it requires you to have 4 monsters active on the table. You can kind of build into it, but then they also all have to be successfully in melee and doing the thing they want to do. The boss leads the way. You complete this battle tactic if during this turn your general calls a Gruntawa and any enemy units are destroyed by attacks made with your general or abilities used by your general this turn. And then full speed Stampede, you complete this battle tactic if at the end of your turn there are 3 or more friendly Magruntas units on the battlefield that have a momentum score of 5 or more. So you have to have Magruntas, like you have to have big pigs to do most of these. So they're not super easy, but here's the thing I actually really like about this. I like that these are very tailored and there's not a huge list of them. I like this, I should have said this with the Trog Herd one too. These are small, one-dimensional, very bespoke armies, but they're gonna be easy to play. Like, what I like the most about the armies in this book so far, and I'll expand on this at the end, is they're very one-dimensional. And for a lot of people, that's not great, but when they're a subset of an existing army, it feels a little bit like sectorial armies in Infinity. You collect the main faction, and then you dive into a sectorial and play them. This kind of feels like Games Workshop experimenting with that a little bit, and I'm here for it, because I like easy to remember. That's right up my alley. All right, so let's look at these guys. The Tusk Boss, this is your character model on a Magrunta. He's got 14 wounds, 3+ save. His move starts at 9, and the more wounded he is, it gets faster. He's one of these ones where he escalates the more damaged he is. So he goes 9, 10, 11, 12, and his kill choppers go to -1, -2, -3, because the thing's moving faster. And its Tusk do more damage as well. So it starts at D3, and then it's D3 plus, oh, sorry, that's not wounds. It's a momentum score. The faster it's going, the more damage it does. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. It escalates basically based on how fast it's going. So it starts off slow and it gets higher. It doesn't ever degrade based on its wounds. That's the key thing to momentum here, is the more damage you get doesn't matter. It's the faster you're going, the higher your stats are. So your melee weapons, your Pig Hackers, 1-inch range, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. Then the Mighty Tusks are 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -3, and the damage goes D3 up to D3 plus 3 when you're at maximum momentum. Your Trampling Trotters, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, D3 damage, and your Kill Choppers on the guys are 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 to be in, and then 2 damage. So you have a pretty massive potential damage output, especially when your Tusks are maxed out, because they go to like 2d3 plus 6 if you hit with both. And remember, if you're wounded too, you can have that trait on this guy where he is +1/+1, which is real good for his Mighty Tusks and Trampling Trotters. So it'll be 2s and 2s on all of them. Then your Mount, which is the Mighty Tusks and Trampling Trotters. The crew has the Kill Choppers, Head of the Stampede. If this unit makes a charge move, you can reroll charge rolls for all friendly Magrunta units on the battlefield until the end of the phase. Somebody gets to reroll their charges. And then Unstoppable Momentum. Once a Magrunta begins its charge, it can only stop by crashing into something. And so the momentum score will affect things that are represented with a dash. At the start of the battle, you have a momentum of 1. Each time this unit finishes a run or charge move, add D3 to the momentum score. This unit's momentum score can never exceed 6, and at the end of each turn, subtract 1 from its momentum score to a minimum of 1. And then Headlong Charge. Well, this unit has a momentum score of 4 or more. This unit can charge even if it ran. That's really important. First turn, basically, this rule is really clever because it prevents first turn running and charging, but it guarantees almost that you can run and charge second turn. Because you're going to run, you have 1, you're going to add D3, so you're going to have between 2 and 4. You're going to go down to between 1, basically as long as you don't roll a 1-2 for your first one, you'll be able to run charge the second turn, more likely than not. So it's like 3+, you're going to go to 3, then you're going to go to 2, and then you're going to run again, 3+, and you'll have that 4 that you need to do it. So there's no rerolls on these, unfortunately, though, because it's not one of the fixed like command reroll numbers that you can do. But at the same time, it's very likely you're going to get run charges if you have kind of average dice with your momentum scores. And I think it's guaranteed on turn 3 you can run charge with everybody. And then you're just like maintaining it. But you don't want to get charged because it's going to mess with your momentum. It's interesting. You kind of want to run laterally and then, yeah, and just kind of take what you get. And then you could fixed run even with a CP. Then you have Hack and Charge. You can carry out this Carve a Path Monsters Rampage below with this unit instead of anything else. So carve path is pick an enemy unit with a wound characteristic of 4 or less within 3 of this unit and roll a die. If the roll is less than its momentum score, the enemy unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the roll, and you can immediately attempt to charge with this unit. When a unit charges in this manner, it can pass across enemies with a wound characteristic of 1 or 2 as if it can fly. So this is the nice thing. This guy's Monstrous Rampage, and it's the same with the other Mogrentas, are going to allow them to helicopter across units, but you can't do... Only one of them gets to do it, because you can only all do one Monster Rampage. Like, nobody can do the same one more than once. Yeah, there's no I think thing that allows you to do it more than once. So somebody's gonna get unstuck. They could if multiple Gruntas are gonna get stuck in combat, you're gonna have one of them sort of like get left behind because they won't be able to do this, and their momentum score might start to drop. But the Tusk boss, at least, you'll be able to keep like charging around and flying across units because of that hack and charge. He's on a relatively large base though, so if you get a bad charge roll, there could be a certain amount of I guess you could charge the same unit you're engaged with, but model positioning could potentially lock you in still if people are cagey with it, or you're being charged by multiple like large base monsters. Then you get the non-hero version. He's just got a worse save. He's got a 4+ save instead of a 3+ save. He's got 2 less attacks on his Gouge, Choppa, and Axe. I think everything else is pretty much the same. He's elite, so he can issue himself his own orders, even though he's not a hero. And that's it. He's a mount, he's got his crew, has unstoppable momentum, headlong charge, and hack and charge just like the hero did. And then we got Mogrunta Gouges, which are sort of the unit version of this. So this kit makes 3 things. You get the Tusk boss, you get the one with a hack and crew, and you get just like a plain old Mogrunta. These are a bit like the kitties in whatchamacallit, in the Orc Kingdoms, like the mounted Orc Kingdoms army. 12 wounds and a 4+ save. Same kind of attacks as they lose the crew attacks basically. They're a Monstrous Regiment, so only one unit model in this unit can carry out the Monstrous Rampage when you get the ability to do so. And theirs is different. Theirs is flattened into the mud, which is nice because it means they're not all fighting for the same rampage. Only a model in a unit that has made a charge move this turn can carry this out. Pick an enemy unit with a wound characteristic of 1 or 2 within 3 and roll a die. If it rolls less than this unit's momentum score, the strike last effect applies to that unit until the end of the turn. So that means that 1 and 2, these guys are actually really valuable to have in your army because 1 and 2 wound units are going to get kind of like Tree Man stomped. And you can have multiple things in the same melee, right? So you could have it in with a Tusk boss and have him go first because they got to go last or got marked to go last. And then it's the return of the Ard Boys, which I think is really cool. So you get an Ard Boy Big Boss. It's basically, Ard Boy means, in Warhammer, the old world terms, it means Black Orc. So those models finally got retired. They've survived a long time, but they got retired. And this guy is their hero. He's got 6 wounds and a 3+ save, bravery 7, boss Haka and Choppa, 2-inch range, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. And then you got Zogrok Anvil Smasher is the character dude. And I think he's the same model. He might not be. He's very similarly posed. I don't think he is. But I like that he's got half a face. He's gotten all jacked up. And he's like a smith. He has this big flaming sword and hammer that he smiths with. And he's got his Rockbrow Squig Clonk with his ramming head. So the dude's got an extra wound and extra bravery. And then he has a Skull Crushing Basher with 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage. The Ward Smashing Choppa, which is 2 attacks, 3s and 2s, -2, 3 damage. Gruntatongs, which are 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, 1 damage. And a Ramming Head, 3s and 3s, 1 damage. And then he's got the Power to Green God. In your hero phase, you can pick up from the Iron Jaws unit wholly within 2 of this unit and roll a die. Add 2 to the roll if this unit's armed with Gruntatongs. On a 4+, their weapons are green hot until the start of your next hero phase. Why didn't they do this thing green then? Why is this sword not painted green? While units' weapons are green hot and modified rolls of 6 do a mortal wound addition to normal damage. So he is a cool force multiplier for the Ard Boys. And then Ward Smashing Choppa. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this Ward Smashing Choppa is a 6, the target is any ward, they are smashed. If they're smashed for the rest of the battle, they cannot make ward rolls. And then you get your new Brute Rages. They're elites. They can issue their own orders. 3 wounds. They're a little bit like the big guys in the Khorne Bloodbound army. 3 wounds, 5+ saves. They've lost half their armor because they're half naked. And then you have the Weird Boy ones too that are jacked up on Gork and Mork's power. The Berserkers, they can run still charge, and they have Bone Shattering Strike. If an unmodified hit roll for the attack made with the Brute Crusher is 6, they do 3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends, which is amazing, because they have, Brute Crushers have 3 attacks. The Chain Smasher, each model unit is armed with one of the following, either a Chain Smasher, a Mighty Gore Hacker, or a Brute Crusher. The Brute Crusher is going to be real popular, I think, because it's just 3 mortal wounds. Only 3 attacks, but 4s and 4s minus 1 d3 damage normally. You can all attack them for 3s if you want, and you're just fishing for 6s anyway. The Mighty Gore Hackers are 3s and 3s minus 2 damage, and then 6 attacks, 4s and 4s minus 1 2 damage for the Chain Smasher if you want to give them all different weapons. Same kit also builds the Weird Brutes, same core stats. Their Chain Smashers are 6 attacks, 4s and 4s minus 1 2 damage. They have a 5+ ward while they're within 3 of the enemy with their Weird Brute masks. They're still Berserkers, they can run charge, and they have Green Rage. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by this unit is 6, and they target 10 or more models, that attack scores 2 hits instead of 1. So they double their hits basically against big units, because they're kind of like orc versions of Fanatics, which is kind of cool. And then the Ard Boys, so these are the 2 wound, 3+ save with their shields, bravery 5. They got Choppas and Stickers if they want. They have one or the other, and all of them have to have the same one. So if they have Choppas, it's 2 attacks, 3s and 3s minus 1 damage, or 2-inch range for 4s and 3s minus 1 damage. They get a standard, and get +1 bravery, and the boss gets +1 melee attack. They get Here We Go, +1 attack to their Choppas if they made a charge in the same turn, and then to Stickers, they get +1 rend if they charge in the same turn. And then finally, Shield Bash. Each time this unit fights after its attacks have been resolved, pick 1 enemy unit within 1 of this unit and roll a die for each model in this unit. They're within 1. On a 6+, they take a mortal wound. So they poop out mortal wounds per model, basically, on 6s, and they've got nice charge bonuses for their weapons. That's a nice little, teeny glow up, basically, for the Ard Boys to kind of coincide with their cool new models. And that's it for the Brutes. Now, interestingly enough, I'm kind of not sure why they put new Ard Boys in, because they can't be part of the big run. They're not part of the Mod Grunta stuff, but at the same time I'm glad they did, because I think it's just cool that they added that stuff in. So it'll kind of replace or add to what's in the Warclans box. Ard Boys are 220 for 10, and they come in a box of 10. The Mod Grunta gouges are battle line if you're generals of Mod Grunta, and they are count as behemoths. So the Mod Grunta gouges are 180. And then the Mod Grunta with Hacking Crew is 270, it counts as a behemoth. So all these count against your behemoth limit, which is interesting. So does Trug the Trog King. The Ard Boys big box is just a leader for 100. Zogrod Anvil Smash is 160. The Tusk Boss on Mod Grunta is a leader behemoth. So if you wanted to have, let's say, the Hacking Crew one, or even just the Gougers, I guess the Gougers are battle line if you're generals on a Mod Grunta, so you could have them as battle line. You could do, because all of your Tuskor guys or your riders are going to be battle line too. You could do the leader on the Mod Grunta. You could do 2 regular Grunta gouges and the Hacking Crew one. The unit size is only 1. So I don't know why they mentioned the difference in unit size if there's only 1 of them. And then you get your Weird Brute Rekkas for 125, Brute Rages for 100. But you can have 4 behemoths, so the army's neat. And then finally, King Broad's Broad Stomp. This is going for a Broad Stomp. This is basically, I think Broad's rules were in the last one, so there's no need to add that in. This is just the rules for him and his own bespoke army, which I think is interesting. They didn't put it in the last one, but. So kicking it off with battle traits, we got these Realms Hussars, which is the usual one, I think, from the Sons of Behemat book. I think it's just a copy of it. Basically, you have your Mightiest Makes Rightiest score for all the big Titans or big Sons of Behemat, and then you have 10 for the Man Crushers as long as they're alive. That counts as your unit control, your objective control stat for how many models you count as. Then the World Titans Prophet. If your army includes King Broad, he has a 5+ ward while he's within 3 of any friendly units. That's a big ward save for him. You get Smash It All to Bits. Once per turn in your shooting phase, you can pick a train feature within 1 of a friendly Mega Gargant. And if you do so on 2+, it's destroyed, because you can sunder stuff. If a train feature is sundered, roll a dice for each unit and has any models on or garrisoning that on a 2+, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds. Then all models from units that were on or garrisoning it must be set up wholly within 3 of the train feature and more than 3 from all enemy units. If a model cannot be set up more than within 6 of the train feature and more than 3, it's slain. The terrain features then removed from play. So you don't want to hide inside terrain from the Sons of Behemat. They are not into that. And then finally, the Mega Gargant you picked can make a shooting attack with the following hurled terrain missile weapon in that phase. So you can have an 18-inch D6, 4s and 3s, -2, D3 plus 3 damage attack. It really rewards you for ripping down castles in a big way. Then Wrath Abroad, which is a very dad joke pun, I think. Fear the Wrath Abroad. That's my favorite magic card now. When you carry out a monstrous rampage with a friendly Mega Gargant, you can do this one instead. The King's Stomp. Only a model that has made a charge move in the same phase can carry this out. This model can make a 3d6 move, but it must finish that move within 3 inches of any enemy units. When a unit makes this move, it can pass across models in terrain in the same model as the unit can fly. At the end of the move, roll dice for each unit it passed across. On a 2+, they take D3 mortal wounds. Now that sounds crazy, but remember your base is enormous for these Mega Gargants. So even though they can kind of trample after they make a charge move and like kind of Cuisinart over stuff, you have to be able to fit your base where you end up, and that can be a big problem with like lots of MSU armies. You can kind of like triangle in and out though, so you could clip. There's going to be some armies that have like many small like individual little heroes. He could really mess them up as he flies over them. Then you get your command traits. The King's Best. Mega Gargants, generals only, including unique units, so you can give these to Broad. High Expectations. Add one of the attack characteristic of Death Grip attacks made by friendly Mega Gargants while they're within 3 of any other friendly Mega Gargants. Big Eaters. In the combat phase, if any enemy models are slain by attacks made with friendly Mega Gargants, wholly within 12 of this general, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to that Mega Gargant, so you just eat the things you're killing. Loudmouth Bully. Once per turn in the combat phase, you can pick a friendly King Broad Stomp unit wholly within 12 of the general. If you do so until the end of that phase, use the top row of their damage table regardless of how many wounds you suffered. It's basically a comeback of the old command trait from I think it was 2-3 general handbooks ago. And then Grand Strategy, Broad's Decree, Flatten the Land. When the battle ends, you complete this Grand Strategy if there's no terrain features in the battlefield. So they reward you for smashing it all to bits, and you also get your Grand Strategy if you do so. So there's typically 8 pieces of terrain on the table. It means you need to make 8 monstrous rampages. Sorry, these aren't monstrous rampages. I'm so sorry. You can just do it. You can just sunder on 2+. But only one person. Actually, then how would you do it? Oh, because you can also do the monstrous rampage. So you can do 5 monstrous rampages plus 5 shooting pages. You can do this too. So you get 10 total, basically. It feels harder than that because there's also potentially terrain from the armies on the table. Yeah, I probably wouldn't pick it just because it would be random, especially like competitively. It would be random how much terrain's on the table. It'd be up to the person organizing the tables, so you might not be able to do it. Because once per turn for the smash all bits. And it's only your shooting phase. All right, Artifacts Power. Treasures of Behemat for your heroes. Brand of the Gargant King. If you make a charge roll that was 8+, you get strike first. Lucky Shiny Hat, 5+ mortal wounds save, ward rather. And then Crafty Creepers. That's sort of the combat phase. Pick an enemy hero that has an artifact of power. That's within 1 of the Baron. Roll a die. On a 5+, it's wrecked, and it goes away. And then your battle tactics, Gargantuan Goals. Good shot. You complete this battle tactic if an enemy unit was destroyed with hurled terrain. King's Conquest. You complete this battle tactic if a friendly King Broad and one of their Broad Stomps units are contesting the same objective at the end of the turn, and that objective was controlled by your opponent. And then clear them out. Pick an objective on the battlefield that you don't control. If at the end of the turn you control this objective and that objective is contested by a friendly King Broad Stomp unit that made a charge move. So you have 2. One requires Broad. He has to be in the army anyway. We have 2 that just require taking objectives away from the enemy. I actually really like those because you're going to want to do that no matter what. The Good Shot Her is kind of random, but you can just pick a small unit, and it does so much damage. It's very swingy, but because it's a core attack, because it's an attack roll, you could reroll the attack number with the command reroll. Like there's ways of basically making it better. You could all attack it to make it hit better. Yeah, and that's it. And obviously there's no new units there. It's just an army. So the last one is the Grunstock Expeditionary Force. If your Caradron Overloads. You can do this. Every unit in your army must have the Caradron Overloads keyword and either be a hero that is not unique or have the Grunstock keyword. So you have to have boats, basically. Only the best. Friendly Grunstock Expeditionary Force units gain the battle line battlefield roll, period. So everybody's battle line. So you have to be a hero that's not unique and then be Grunstock. So it's gun haulers. What is the Grunstock keyword? I have to look this up now because I was trying to parse what it actually was, and it's mostly just boats, I'm pretty sure. Let's have a look here. So we're going back to Caradon Overlords this time around. Stormforge. No, we're going to War Scrolls, but we're going to Order, and we're going to Caradon Overlords, and then we're going to War Scrolls. So luckily they all have names in them. So Thunderers all have the Grunstock keyword, I'm pretty sure. They sure do. The Gun Hauler obviously also does, the little boat. It also has Grunstock. What else? Do Dawnbringers have it? Do they have Grunstock? They sure don't. Yeah, if it's in the name, I think it counts. That's it. Arcanauts don't. But you could take a Code Right. You could take the Edrin Masters, because they're just heroes. So you could take them. Because they don't have to be Grunstock. I think that's all you get. So you just have, because the Arcanauts don't get it, because the Arcanauts don't have the Grunstock keyword, I'm pretty sure. They sure don't. So it's just nothing but little gun haulers that I think don't have compartments unless you buy them the extra compartment. Can they carry guys? Bomb racks, escort vessel, all head full. No, I don't think they do. So you're just taking gun haulers. I thought there was one that had, I think there was a collapsible compartment you could buy for one of them. And then Thunderers for 160. And then all your heroes. So a very weird small army. So everyone's battle line, the whole army's battle line. Because everybody gains Grunstock Expeditionary, which means even your heroes become battle line. Grunstock protocols, or Grudge Settler protocols. In any phase, each time a friendly Grunstock Expeditionary Force unit is shot or fought for the first time, roll a die on a 4+, they can shoot or fight again. However, you're -1 to hit. So you can just double tap everybody on a 4+, even in melee. And then designers note this ability can be used in your opponent's turn after a Grunstock Expeditionary Force unit shoots with the Unleash Out command. So you get to Overwatch twice, basically, potentially on a 4. The rapid redeployment. Each time a friendly Grunstock Gun Hunter makes a normal move, you can say that it will transport a friendly unit. If you do so before the move is made, pick a friendly unit with a win characteristic of 6 or less. That's within 3 of the Grunstock Gun Hauler and move them, and more than 3 from the enemy, remove them from the battlefield, and then after the move, set them up again. So basically, they Batman themselves onto the boats. So even though they can't stay on it, right? I think unless you have the compartment upgrade, because I think there was a Sky Vessel compartment upgrade, or there used to be maybe, you can still use them to redeploy, which is neat, but yeah, they don't stay in it, so it's not as safe as like the transport rules. They don't garrison it the way that the big ones do. And then I don't know why this exists. Maybe because they weren't selling these models, but it's a neat army. It just feels like an army that will not survive in the next edition. So if you buy a whole bunch of these, you may only be able to play this for the rest of this edition. Command traits, Grizzled Officers. Back on your feet, when a friendly Grunstock Expeditionary Force unit receives a command, a rally command, you can return a slain model on a 4+ instead of a 6. Entrenchment Expert. This general prefers to engage their foes in heavy cover. When this general issues the all-out defense unit, you get a 5+ ward. So that's cool. 5+ ward for getting all defense. And then Gruncor's, it's an addition to the +1 save. And then Gruncore Technician. Once you're about at the end of your hero phase, if a friendly Grunstock Gun Hauler unit has been destroyed, you can roll a die and add the number of the current battle run to the roll. On a 6+, you can set up a new Grunstock Gun Hauler again in the battlefield. More than 9 from all enemy units and within 5 wounds allocated to it. So basically, like, something's been shot down, but while it was shot down, something else is being repaired and it comes back. Your grand strat is mission parameters, except profit margins. Until the end of the battle, you complete this grand strategy if there's at least 1 unit of Thunderers and 1 Gun Hauler in the battlefield. So as long as you have 1 of each unit left, then you get this grand strategy. Which, I mean, why not take that? Because you want to have something left at the end of the game anyway. Your Artifacts of Power, Special Issue Kit, an Etheric Nullifier. Each time a friendly Expeditionary Force unit is wholly within 12 of the bears affected by a spell, or an ability of an endless spell, roll down a 4+, you can ignore it. And then Gimlet's Gaze Scope, add 9 to your ranged weapons ranges. And then Grudge Fire rounds, pick 1 of your missile weapons. The unmodified hit rolls of a 6 cause number of mortal wounds equal to your damage, and the attack sequence ends. That's pretty cool for certain heroes. So who would that be good on? I like investigating this army because there's not like who's got lots of shots that isn't a special character. Your Admiral has, I mean, that's kind of cool for his 9-inch range pistol, I guess. The Aether Chemist. The Aether Chemist would be pretty cool with 3d6 shots. Just fish for 6s, do mortal wounds. Yeah, give us his atmospheric anatomizer. There you go. Give that thing mortal wounds. Just give it a mortal wound flamethrower. Who else could be in here that has a gun? What's the code right got? Only 2 shots. You want something with a high shot count, right? Your Edwin Master with the dirigible suits. That's 1 shot. Oh, the weapon battery's got 6 shots, but still only 1 damage. And then what about the Edwin Master on foot? What is Edwin Harness? Nah, he's got a hammer. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the flamethrower is where it's at. Give it to the Aether Chemist and just be like, yeah, here's my 3d6 fishing for mortal wounds. Let's go. And yeah, your 9 inches of range, I don't think do much there. The spell shrug would be cool. I'd probably take that one if I had an extra one to take, but I think the grudge fire round's where it's at. Yeah. And then your battle tactics are corporate maneuvers. Blow them away. You complete this battle tactic if an enemy unit was destroyed by a attack being the Grudge Settler Protocol, which is up here. So the double shot. So the second shot kills them. No safe haven. Pick a. I don't see that. I don't like that because you'd have to first trigger that ability and then also destroy the unit with it. So it's not great. If there's 1 wound, 1 model left, then maybe. Oh no, because you'd not want that because you'd have to do it when the protocol is triggered. Yeah, it's super swinging. No safe haven. Pick an objective on the battlefield that's controlled by your opponent. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of the turn you control that objective and a friendly unit that was set up using the rapid redeployment contests it. And then Thunderous Claim. Pick an objective on the battlefield you don't control. Complete this battle tactic if at the end of the turn you control that objective and that objective is controlled by at least 2 different units of Grunstock Thunderers. Cool. Yeah, I don't get. Yeah, so there it is. The Dawnbringers Book 2, Reign of the Brute. I like all the armies in here, kind of except for the Grunstock one. Because it just feels like it's such a limited number of units. Like, I'm going to try and make one right now. It's such a weird army. Choose an army faction, order. Let's go Curator on Overlords. No sub-faction because I don't care about that right now. I'm just trying to make an army here. Choose battle pack, pitch battles. Choose balance. Just make 1,000 points, for instance. And create the army. How many grudge haulers? Everything's battle line. I can have 6 heroes. So let's just take, I can have an Aether Chemist, a Navigator, an Admiral, I don't know, a Codewright, Edwin Master, Edwin Master. So now I got 6 heroes. That's only 700 points. I'm going to try 2,000 points here. How many gun haulers do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of the Skywardens, so they can all move together. The heroes wouldn't be able to attach to them, so maybe I would kill a couple of these units. Like I'd kill, who's useless? The Codewright's kind of useless. I'd keep the Admiral. I want the Flamethrower on the Aether Chemist. The Navigator's kind of cool. But you guys, the dirigible suit, I guess, is good. Do they still hook onto gun haulers and fly? Let me look. Can you guys hook onto things and move around? You can heal them. They don't have skyhooks anymore. Okay, he just flies. He just flies and moves relatively quickly. Moves 12. So, yeah. So I would need to buy 4 to 5 gun haulers. 1 more gun hauler would do it. I'd have 4 units of Thunderers, 5 gun haulers. And then I'd have 4 heroes here, the Edwin Master, the Admiral, the Navigator, and the Aether Chemist. And that would be an army. And then 4 units of Grunstock Thunderers. I mean, that's 2,000 points. It's neat, but like, what happens? Is this even a legal army if this sub-faction goes away? I don't know. It's just weird. It's super one-dimensional. So it might be fun to play. I think it'd be neat to play. And if you have the collection already, then definitely I think it'd be fun to play. But these other ones are all new miniatures for the most part. They all have some character. Like the Mega Gargant army is never going to go away because it's its own army. It's Sons of Behemat. You'll always be able to play with it. The Trogs model count is way lower too, right? So like Trogs, I guess you'd probably use the Trogs in the Gitz army no matter what because you want some hitters to go with your little guys. Yeah, so it's the only one that stands out to me. It's kind of weird. I like this book though. I like the fact that it's basically going deeper into the individual factions as opposed to going wider with new factions. And that's a good design space to be in late in edition because it means you can kind of explore what's already there, and multiple armies in the same book get something out of it. I like that most of it's destruction. Again, having one Order army in here just felt weird. And no Cities of Sigmar thing. Although I guess they're super new, so maybe that was why as well. But overall, it's neat. It expands the storyline. It gives you some sub-faction stuff. This is kind of just what we're probably going to see in the foreseeable future while the edition winds down. And we move towards 4th edition Age of Sigmar. I cannot believe I'm saying that because that's probably another year off at least. Like we just had 10th Ed 40K, so there'll be a year in between, and then we'll have 4th edition AOS. It's wild to me the word 4th edition AOS, and this YouTube channel's been around for the entirety of AOS. That's making me feel old. So cool, yeah. Pick this up if you play any of these armies individually. I don't know that I would. I mean, the Trog one is the one where that army is getting a box, basically, where you can start it on its own. So the Trog army, the Trug army, sorry, of Trogs, which is something Trog, would be a fun gimmick list to have. And then if you just built 1,000 points of it, you could kind of like jump off and do another army, or do a full Gitz army based on what you bought to play 1,000 points of that. So I think of the armies in here, it's kind of the neatest. The rest of it is either you have an existing army, you like Orc War Clans, you're going to pick these models up anyway, or you really like the Grunstock Gun Hauler and the Missile guys. So big thanks for GW sending this along to review, and for you guys for watching. Until next time, I'm Ash. Happy gaming.